welcome back to Everyday Struggle. Nadeska here with DJ Akademiks and Wayno. And you notice we have an extra chair today. We have a special guest. T.I. is going to pull up in a few minutes.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
How you feeling?
Good.
He's pulling up in peace, by the way. T.I. pulling up, you never know, okay? You never know.
T.I. probably the only one who has no problems with you. You're safe here.
I think he don't got no problem. I never met T.I. before. But
he's a very nice guy.
I've
You'll be
been
fine.
getting my Negro college education from T.I.'s Instagram, man. I'm not going to lie. The vocab words is that guy, man.
He's a very, very cool brother.
Well-spoken.
Very well spoken. We're excited to have him. But before that, so yesterday we talked a lot about Carter 5, obviously, but there was other music that came out over the weekend. Kevin Gates, for example, dropped Luca Brasi 3, 18 tracks, big singles, Me Too, Money Long. This is his first project since he's been home from prison. What did you guys think?
I was happy with it. It's good to hear him back, like like feel like he didn't miss a beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I liked it from him. You know, overall, I don't feel like it was rushed. It was no big, no big rollouts. People were just putting it out there and letting people judge it, but I'm happy with it. And to put something out around the same time as Wayne and Logic came out as well.
Yeah.
Like, his shit is distinctive. Like, he's not in nobody's lane but his own with something like this. So I was happy with it overall. And I did go over, you know, because we never get a chance to talk about Lupe shit.
That's true.
Lupe shit is fire. I ain't gonna lie. It's fire. For him to be doing it, same level of talent he had when he was on a label to independently, Lupe shit is fire.
It's definitely a good album.
I like Kevin Gates' new project. There was no real big single that jumped out to me. But every time a nigga come out of jail and he putting out a project, I always listen for this one thing, growth and development. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when people are locked down and they're writing, and you could tell some of the either thoughts that manifested or maybe even lyrics or just concepts came from him being locked up in Chicago. And I usually want to see that mindset through the music, which we did definitely get, but it also showed that Kevin Gates, he's in like a very spiritual lane. He's in that spirituality stuff. Like, he doesn't change that much.
Yeah.
So even though he went to jail, like, he kind of realized a couple things about himself and people, but he's not a different person. He didn't go in one person, come out someone else. So I like the lane that he's in, and also I'm glad that he's kind of like actively putting out music. I think he kind of got to get a little bit more in that bag for us to get like a big single. In terms of a project, the project was dope. The project was cool. Like, if you're a Kevin Gates fan, he's one of them people who you be putting out projects with no features and nobody gives him the Twitter tweet, he did it platinum with no features. That's only reserved for J. Cole, it seems. But he's always doing it, very consistent. And I will say, if you're a casual fan or you never really listen to Kevin Gates' music, this album might be a hard introduction for you. But I think so.
I feel like I kind of like, because I listened to some of Kevin Gates' music before, like more of the singles, but I felt like this, you know how when an album, or not even an album, a movie, you know, I'm the movie guy. But like, you know how certain movies you want to know the story, and then it's like, people like, yo, you could just pick up this and kind of figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I felt like that listening to this, because a lot of it, he talks about like his faith getting him through a tough time. He talked about what he went through in Chicago. He talked about, you know, his relationship with his wife being rocky because he was locked up for so long. So I think you could just pick this up. I mean, you have to be a certain fan of certain type of music, but I do get if you're a casual Kevin Gates fan or just never heard him, you might not be into it. But if you're into the type of music that he makes, you could pick this up and appreciate it.
Yeah, plus, like, you know, a lot of the stuff that comes out of Kevin Gates' mouth at times, whether he tweets it or says it, like, sometimes it might shock you while there's a deeper meaning in his own explanation behind it. So a lot of times you have to look into what he means, and the context is very important. So sometimes, like, even listen to this album, he said certain shit and be like, okay, knowing Kevin Gates, you get it. But if you don't know Kevin Gates, you might be a little bit thrown off. So that's why I said it might be a little bit hard for you to get into. But overall, it's a solid project. I looked at it, was, I believe, 18 tracks. At first, I was like, I don't know if 18 was again, this is before I listened to it.
Okay.
I thought it might have been too long. I was expecting a album about like 13 or so songs. Yeah. But I didn't feel like it dragged halfway through it. It felt like I only listened to a couple songs just because, like, it was moving. So.
All right. So that's a pretty solid review. All right, we also wanted to talk about Kodak, but I think Tip is actually here. So let's break for a second and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and as promised, we got Tip with us. Good morning. Welcome to the very early struggle.
Yeah,
it's good to have you.
It's an early
morning, brother.
Struggle.
Yes.
It's going down.
That was you.
How you doing? Album number 10 coming out this week.
Yeah, the Dime Trap, man. Yeah, it's coming out this Friday. Actually, tomorrow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, today is.
Do you feel like you're like 10 albums in? Like,
Yeah.
You don't look like it, but we know you have like 2 decades worth of good advice and input, so we're happy to have you here. We're going to talk about the album, but we would love for you to debate some topics with us first if you're down.
Certainly. Let's see what we got going on in the gossip column today.
Well, surprise, we're going to start with the one and only Kanye West. He owes us an album. He was supposed to drop Yandi this last weekend. It did not come. He sat down with Harvey Levin at TMZ, talked about why it was delayed, but also he talked about the 13th Amendment again, and also Colin Kaepernick. Here's what he had to say.
I've been calling Colin this morning, reaching him so I can bring Colin to the White House and we can remove that sons of bitches state.
Okay, so he's hoping to get Colin Kaepernick and Trump to have a conversation to sort things out. It feels like we might be beyond that at this point, but look, you have a better relationship with Ye than any of us will ever have. Can you give us some insight? Like when he does things like this, he genuinely thinks he can make it happen this easily? Do you think he's going about it the right way?
Yet.
He's extremely ambitious, and I mean, I think that canceling people, to be honest with you, I mean, I think that's counterproductive. I'm talking about canceling anybody, because you know, as humans, we're all fallible, and we all fall short at times, and I just don't think that throwing people or throwing things away is the answer to our problems. However, I think, man, you know what I'm saying, Kanye got to be mindful of some of the things he say, and you know, I think that although what I think don't matter, because he gonna do what he gonna do anyway. I'm telling y'all the same stuff I tell him, like, you know what I'm saying, he just, everything that comes to his mind, it got to come out his mouth. You know.
I think he has a problem really in the way he conveys it. Like sometimes what he's saying, it might not be the worst thing ever, but the way he says it comes across like that.
It's true.
Like,
and it seems like it only happens like that when he goes to TMZ.
Right.
Why is he even going to TMZ? That's the thing. Why?
You know what I'm saying? Like the whole slavery was a choice thing, and then you know you come back with the 13th. Now, actually, the 13th Amendment thing, I always said, I thought it was like poignant, you know, for him to point out.
Ava DuVernay made a whole documentary about it. It feels like he's just like a little bit late and just throwing out random bits of information.
And that's another
with
thing about my brother, you know what I'm saying? Like he'll find like a small blurb of information.
Yeah.
And then he'll like, you know, be so inspired and so passionate about it that he'll go and he'll like, you know, create an entire subject matter over the next course of a week or two about something that he only read a blurb about, so he hadn't really dissected himself with all of the information to speak intelligently on it.
That stuck out to me too, because I remember you saying something about him, like when he was talking about Trump, and you like equated it to him saying like how a person like fried chicken, or like Hennessy, like he just likes a thing.
Right.
He doesn't really look at like the context behind everything he's saying. He just likes the idea of him and not everything that comes with it. So just reading the blurb makes sense.
And
sometimes.
another thing that I see, like, you know, with him putting that bullshit ass hat on, excuse my language, and
curse on him, man.
and the Colin Kaepernick sweatshirt. I think that, you know, his arrogant ambition kind of tells him that he could kind of bring these two groups of people together if he's wearing both of these articles of clothing.
You think he thinks he's the one to do it?
As though fashion can save the world.
He certainly thinks that Yeezys will solve every issue that there is under the sun.
I mean, man, my brother, man, I can't tell him what he can't do, you know what I'm saying? I'm the same one who told him Jesus walks was crazy. And, you know what I'm saying? And so I far be it for me to tell him what he can't do, but you know, it gets to be a bit much for me at times.
Well, look, so we don't want to cancel anyone, like you said. I guess the dilemma is, and I can speak from a personal aspect of someone who's like loved Kanye over decades and supported him and defended him as a fan. Right. It just feels like you have to do a lot to offend people in hip hop. We're very accepting, I would say, to a lot of things. But it just seems like this is one line where like there's too much on the line here. We're talking about like global issues now, and he's just being a little bit reckless. So what are we supposed to do then if canceling him is not an issue?
I think, man, you have to be patient, stand back, watch the whole board, and see how it plays out, man. You know, right now we're reacting in a matter of minutes, seconds. it's a microwave society. Just stand back and see what happens. Let's see if he actually does get Kaepernick to go to the White House. Let's see how this thing plays out. I don't really know what the outcome of Kaepernick going to the White House would be. I don't know. You know, say if you're saying he said he want to get rid of the SOB, the sons of bitches statement, but let's get into the true source of why the sons of bitches statement even became a reality in the first place. The lack of respect, you know what I'm saying, the disregard of our people by Agent Orange, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We get down to that, you know what I mean? Let's just see. I don't think it costs us nothing to just sit back and watch.
Yeah,
Don't jump to conclusions so soon. Don't form an opinion.
That's how I felt about the whole Chicago thing. Because remember we was talking about, I was like, you know, we at least got to give them a moment. Yeah. But it's like, I feel like so many times, every time we take a moment, it's always something said to make you say, oh, he's not going to do that. Only because of like the action after the initial thing he says he wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we also got to maintain our expectations.
Right.
We got to manage our expectations some, man. We can't.
How low can our expectations be at this point?
I mean, like, you know, what were you expecting in the first place? I mean, Kanye's always been Kanye.
I'm wondering how those conversations, like, say, like, you reach out to him, like, privately. How does that go? Because, you know, when
just
he...
like that. Just
really?
Like that, how it go with Harvey.
Because when he had an interview on a Chicago radio station, he was basically saying that certain things wouldn't have came out of his mouth if he had the right people around him to kind of, like, check him.
Yeah,
so I'm like, if people are reaching out...
We would have pulled him out the room.
Yeah.
Nah, hold up, man. Y'all should cut that shit off, man. Let's go, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's what a friend gonna do. Right. Even when you jump in, like you got to stop all recordings and tapings and everything. Wait a minute, no, this can't go. You know what I'm saying? But the thing I think about Ye, man, is, and I spoke to him the day before, you know, the whole Saturday Night Live. Like on Friday, I spoke to him, and we were just, you know, having a homeboy conversation.
Did
about
he tell you he was gonna do that?
No. Every time he talked to me about that dumb ass hat, I always tell him, man, put that down. That hat is some bullshit, bro.
He called it a Superman cape.
Yeah, see, that it's cause it's red. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like that's how Kanye is, bro. He find things that make sense and that relates to him in his mind. And if you call Ye right now, before he pick up the phone, he already got in his head the conversation he gonna have with you, regardless of what you gonna say. Has nothing to do with what you gonna say when you say, man, yeah, I'm gonna talk to him about this, and this. And even if you bring up something completely non-related, has nothing to do with it, he's still gonna have that same conversation with you.
Jeez. Well, you know what? Some people like, and they say it about athletes, but like I think you're like the perfect person to ask this question to. Like some people like, yo, yeah, you should just stick to music. Just like they say athletes should just stick to sports. You're someone who, like, yeah, music is what gave you a platform, but you've used it in many different ways. Do you feel like at this point, yeah, you should probably just stick, because it might be a little bit destructive, the way how he's going about it.
I mean, even if it is, man, it's his sacrifice, because what I've noticed that he has done every single time, even to his own dismay, is he has forced people to address topics and have discussions that we've been needing to have in society for decades. You see what I'm saying? Even if we all agree that, yeah on some bullshit, but we still discussing the 13th Amendment and how it should be amended.
I feel that same exact way.
And we were discussing 400 years of us keeping ourselves, us potentially keeping ourselves enslaved. The slavery was a choice thing, wasn't saying that we volunteered to be slaves. It was saying 400 years of slavery was a choice. You understand what I'm saying? We've been free since 1868, something like that, 1865, something like that. Okay, so from 1865 up until now, that time we've still been choosing to allow ourselves to be mentally enslaved is what he was trying to say. You know what I'm saying? It came out horrible, but those topics we're now being forced to address because, you know, everybody around the water cooler talking about how big of an idiot Kanye is.
Because sometimes it feels like he's projecting. Like, I understand your point, but sometimes it feels like it's what he's actually going through, like his battle with the fashion industry or whatever it is, and then he's projecting it into this bigger, reckless conversation.
I think all of that is accurate. I think all of it is accurate.
I just thought, well, I was under the impression that ever since he moved back to Chicago, as he said, and even now he says he's going to Africa, that he was going to have a different perspective, because some of the perspective he was giving us was someone who forgot where he came from, or he wasn't around people who look like him that may be going through issues that, you know, he's filthy rich and lives a different lifestyle like he might not be going through. So I thought that would be fixed. Didn't you think the same?
Man, my brother just needs some soul food, some homeboy,
Soul food.
and some information.
Hey, if he goes to Africa, I feel like you should probably go with him. Maybe you should chaperone that trip. I don't know if you should leave him unsupervised.
I mean,
Africa.
bro, hey man. I mean, me and Ye, I think we have intriguing discussions. We challenge each other's opinions, and you know what I'm saying. The things that he say, I actually force him to understand, you know, the true ramifications of all of it, and give him a more broadened perspective. And he does the same for me. So you know what I'm saying. Every time we have a chance to speak, we just don't get a chance to speak consistently.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, he moving, I'm moving. But
All right, Kanye, we'll be patient, like Tip says, and
I
see
think that's what we
we'll
should
see
do.
what happens.
I think we owe him that. You know
Wait, do you think that 2020 thing is real?
what 20,
Like, he says he's going to run for...
well, he say 2024, but I mean, I don't, man, listen, man. Again, it costs me nothing to sit back and watch. It costs me nothing.
I feel like there are a couple of...
I think he dead serious, though. He want to be the president. I think that's why he like Donald Trump so much. Because he feel like Donald Trump came from nowhere. Nobody thought he could be the president. Everybody said because he didn't have political experience. Everybody said because he wasn't in the political field that he couldn't do it, and he did it against the odds and da 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 da. Like that's what it is. It got nothing to do with race, or it got nothing to do with his stances, like against all of that other stuff. That's what it is that he really likes about it.
Which is funny, even though Trump is not doing a great job as president. That's clearly besides the point for him,
the thing.
right?
Because I always ask him, I said, man, what you gonna do, man, when
Once you're in the White House.
Nah, not even once you in the White House. When he get carried out the White House, like you know what I'm saying. If this shit blow up in their face, what you gonna do then?
I mean, one time
and he was stuck. He just like,
Would you look into politics? Because I'm not like, you seem like a leader, like more like, of course you come from a hip hop background, but the way how you use your platform to shine light on other issues that affects the community outside of music, like that might be a nice transition.
I'm not interested. Not in politics. Not in like the conventional, traditional thought of politics. I'd rather use my influence to kind of back and support someone who I know is best positioned for the job. Like it's somebody right now who's thinking about, you know, how to pass bills and how to lobby for laws to you know what I mean? Like that's not me. I'm in the for-profit business. You know what I'm saying?
right. With all that, yeah.
All right, so so Cardi's our next topic. So look, she turned herself in this week. She had a couple misdemeanor charges allegedly stemming from a brawl at a strip club. She's gonna be fine. Her lawyer said we expect this is gonna be resolved expeditiously. That's such a tip word to use. We love Cardi, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, like she blew up pretty fast. There's a lot of stuff on the back end that she's dealing with that as fans, people will never see. We've seen some of it spill out publicly. Her with Nicki at New York Fashion Week. You've been through a lot of this before. Sort of the things that Cardi is saying happening behind the scenes, is that normal? Artists blocking opportunities for other artists just to be petty, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a part of it's competition.
You're just supposed to expect it once you're in the game?
I mean, you don't expect it. You just deal with it a little more strategically. You know what I'm saying? You kind of, you know, do as much of it as you can behind closed doors. Don't let it spill out into, and because once it's presented for public consumption, then everybody just gonna kind of feed off of it and kind of fan the flames, and then you could even have a more difficult time accomplishing the task that you hope to accomplish in the first place, regardless of how major or minute that is. I think it's just a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Again, she gonna be all right. You know, I think old habits die hard. When you come from the place we come from and you stand on the principles that we stand on sometimes, and that's what I see us standing on, kind of like, if you disrespect me, you know what I'm saying, you disrespect me in the dog, I'm gonna address you in the light. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's the same things I've taken risks and, you know, stepped out there on those limbs and did the same thing before. I can't really be too critical of her. I mean, I could just, you know, urge her to be careful and strategic.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I was just saying absolutely. I was agreeing with that.
Yeah, I mean, some people, the debate is like, Cardi Cardi is authentically herself, and that's why we love her. Why should she have to change right now? But as always, it's a balance, right? Not changing too much. You don't want
have
to change her
to grow.
image.
You have
but
to change to grow. You got to change to grow. And it's not about an image. At the end of the day, man, it's about you, what's best for you, your livelihood, you know what I'm saying, the longevity of your career, your family. Because ultimately, man, regardless of whatever, she has made decisions and accomplished things and taken very, very significant steps to change the course of living for her and her family for generations. So we don't want to do anything to take a step back from that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This ain't that, but usually if you continue on, eventually, you know what I'm saying, something happened.
Right.
And you know, some people kind of make the necessary correction before that something happens, and some people get arrested for federal gun charges
and still come out on top.
Yeah.
Rocking
Right.
a decade
I feel
later.
like fans though, fans like they never want the artist to change though. Like you're right, like you got to change and you got to grow, but
got to.
the fans always be like, nah, I like when you were
That ain't their
that
decision.
person that worked, like
That ain't
the
their
person that we first like fell in love with.
That ain't their decision. And then that's another thing, right? You know, I heard someone say a while ago, it made a lot of sense. They said, you'll never be able to help people if they know that you're helping them. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to change. If that help means them changing something that they've been doing, that they've become accustomed to, they don't want to change that, even if it's the best thing for them. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and so you just gotta do what's best for you, and you gotta remember, we dictate the flow of things. You know what I'm saying? We the leaders. You know, we calling the plays. They following the plays that we call. We get to following they plays. Now we done fucked up the hierarchy.
So like even with you, like you've been through a lot of shit. You never felt any pressure, like even from like fans, like feedback, like yo man, damn, yo, Tip kind of changing on us, whatever. Like you never felt like you had to be a certain type of way or act a certain type of way, like just to appease their image that they had of you.
I never really gave a fuck what nobody really thought about me or really said about me for real, man. You know what I'm saying? I always surrounded myself with people who knew me before this, and once all this shit, once these cameras go off and these lights shut off, I walk out here into a real world, man, surrounded by real people who got real feelings about me, and they know who I am, and I know who I am. So I'm more concerned about that, and as long as that's intact, the rest of that shit, their fantasy will never dictate my reality.
That's heavy. No, it's definitely heavy. And I always say that, man. I think so many people get caught up in trying to appease a person's like satisfaction of what they want them to do, as opposed to just making sure their home is straight. Like you can't come out the house and your shit is dirty. You know what I mean? Make sure your shit is clean.
And I think sometimes people be scared to lose fans. They be like, oh, now the fans want this version of me.
Man, first rule, man, fuck that. You understand that? That's the first rule. Deal with you and do what feel good to you. Do what you feel is right inside of you. Listen to the voice inside your head and follow your heart, and the rest of that shit gonna handle itself.
Right.
It's true. It's gotten you real far. So look, album number 10, the Dime Trap, is out this week. Got a new deal with Epic Records.
Yeah.
What's your mindset going?
Well, you know, it's a P&D. You know what I'm saying? It's a partnership.
Right.
Pardon me, it's a
partnership.
More regular deals going on.
partnership.
Now, what's the difference? Because I've heard like it's kind of almost the same.
No.
Just this percentage is different. Break it down to me, Tip. I don't really know.
All right. Well, you know, you have a regular artist deal. Like if you get signed to a regular artist deal, that's 14 to 16% of the profits.
Yeah.
Which means after you've made the label back all of the money that they spent on recording the album, shooting the videos, marketing the album, and all that stuff. And once they made all that money back, the profits are split, and you get 14 to 16% of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you have what we call a production deal, which is the same thing, except for you get production credit, executive producer points, which add up to maybe 18 to 20 points. All right. Then you have what you call a JV, a joint venture deal, which is usually like 50-50, 60-40, something like that. Then you have what we call a pressing and distributions deal, which means you're really partnering.
This is a veteran right here.
You're partnering with the label. You're partnering with the label, and you're utilizing their infrastructure and their services. So I'm using radio promo marketing. You know what I'm saying? I'm using the staff at Sony, and I'm paying them, you know, a distribution fee as well as getting a 75-25 split.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
And that comes from your leverage.
Oh, that's different. That's different.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to do a major deal, man. I sat down with Sylvia and played on my record, man, haphazardly, man. I didn't even really plan on, having a meeting. I just happened to be in LA and we were talking, just in conversation. It came up what I was gonna be doing with my next album. So I played it for her, and they wouldn't let me leave the office. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I mean, I appreciate it. It's been a phenomenal ride. You know what I'm saying? And with the success that we've already had with Travis Scott, I know that they know, how to work a record.
Yeah.
When given the opportunity. So I mean, I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
Excited.
And you guys should come to the Trap Music Museum.
I would love to.
You know what I'm saying? You guys really
We need
should.
They
an
don't come out
outing.
the house.
We need a field trip. He's
I
always
need to go to
yeah.
the Trap Music Museum because I've been seeing this debate about who created trap music and like the origin, even though the word.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. That's an excellent point. And that's one of the real true reasons why I felt that it was important. And
we need more hip hop museums.
Yeah, I felt it was imperative to do a museum to inform those who didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were significant contributions that were made. You know what I'm saying? Of course, mine made it through the door and kind of opened up the door, blazed the trail for everybody else to come behind. But even everything that I did, without them following behind and doing everything else that they did, we wouldn't be right here today. So I felt like, because usually what we do is, man, we get caught up in the minutiae of who did what and who has what and then somebody else, while we arguing, come and takes the big picture and goes off and creates the narrative and presents it the way that they see fit. So I felt like, man, to celebrate the culture, to acknowledge everybody, it was best to just to create a museum, do exhibits, and just shed light on the subject of trap music.
To that point, I had a question about because with hip hop, we're always inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you think that we should build our own Hall of Fame? Because that's a question that always comes up. I always ask why is Run DMC or why is Jay-Z or whomever being inducted into the Rock and Roll as opposed to us having our own?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. We definitely should. But that's something that we have to build for ourselves.
Right.
And I think that we have the resources, the relationships, and the infrastructure to do so. We just have to do it. Somebody has to care enough to say, hey man, I'm gonna take the initiative and make this my business to get this done.
Yeah.
But the Trap Music Museum, we're actually doing an album listening party for the Dime Trap tomorrow night. So. Well, if any of you would like
all right,
to.
Wayno, stop trying to shame us.
What?
We'll come out.
No, I'm not. I wasn't even gonna go there. What I was gonna go there is I listened to the Dime Trap yesterday.
You heard it?
I heard it because
Oh, okay,
Zeke. I do some business over at Epic as well. And
Okay.
Zeke sent it over to me.
Right on.
And I listened to it, and I really liked the album. What I wanted to talk to you about the album is I had a conversation with Meek Mill, and I feel like me watching your career, Meek's career, a lot of the guys that's around my age. I've watched you guys make your mistakes. I've watched you grow up. I wanted to hear from you, an instruction booklet, and I said the same thing to Meek, an instruction booklet on somebody crossing the street without getting hit. And I feel like on the Dime Trap, you talk about a lot of that. You recognizing a lot of your faults.
Yeah.
Amazing Mr. Fuck Up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every man that's going through something with their woman can relate to that.
Right on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was the plan. I wanted to do a TED Talk, if you for trap music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That from the top down. I'm giving you, and before trap music, and that's why it's called the Dime Trap. Dime hence my 10th album, and the trap is it's the evolution of trap music. So from the very beginning, I show you all of the things after all these years in the business, after all of the lessons I've learned, the losses I've taken, the setbacks, the triumphs and tragedies. This is my perspective now after seeing all of this shit. Versus the original trap music was, I'm coming out of this world, entering into this world, this is what I'm bringing with me, and this is how I'm gonna deal with things that I expect to come my way. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that this is like a more well-rounded perspective of what, what a motherfucker can expect in this shit.
That's dope. And what was it like actually working with Meek on this track?
Man, Meek, that's my brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? everybody who I got on this album, man, from Tiana Taylor to
Yeah.
Yo Gotti to
It's always good to
Thugger.
see you and Thugger back together, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, everybody came from a phone call. I just picked up the phone, was like, hey, I got this record, man, you know what I'm saying, pull up.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Simple as
you,
that.
how you pull up Dave Chappelle? Like, I was gonna.
Man, Dave the homie, man. Like, you know, we
Right.
always. I'm a fan of his. He loved to come to hip hop shows. I mean, I don't want to just call him a fan of mine, but
Yeah.
you know, but I'm a fan of his. So every time I'm somewhere where he is, I always go to his show. And when he's somewhere where I'm performing, he comes to my shows. And afterwards, we always had like a green room after party. And then Dave or somebody says, "Hey, we're going to such and such after." And the night always ends up to be one of these 6:30, 7 in the morning epic evenings.
Right.
So the most recent one, one of the most recent was in Philly at the Roots Picnic.
I was there for that too. I seen you killed that shit.
Yeah, we had when it was raining.
Yeah, Drama brought you out for that.
Yeah. So and then so we just had one of those and it's never like a big club. It's always like dive bar, hole in the wall. You know what I'm saying? Mom and pop spot after one after the other. So maybe about 5 in the morning I played like 5 or 6 songs off the project for him and he listened. And then the next morning I wake up like hungover, you know, looking at my phone like, damn, how I get here, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he like, yo, that music you played yesterday was dope. So I said, well, shit, I would love to find, because I was trying to find a way like to, you know, bring all of the songs together. Because it comes a part in the album where you have the songs, but cohesively, you have to kind of like thread it together.
Right?
Yeah.
Tied in. And so that's what I was during that part of the process. I said, man, I'd love for you to come in and see if we could do something together. And he was like, man, bet. I don't need no excuse to come to Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
So shit, he came down and
Yeah.
shit, we just recorded, we just documented our time.
Out of all the joints that's on there, I know it's really early, but do you have a joint that's like one of your favorite joints over there? Because I only listened to it last night, but I got one that I've been playing back a few times.
Well, really, I think, you know, my son produced one of the records on
Which one he
there. Light Day.
Okay, yeah.
Light Day. And I mean, that's probably one of the most proud moments, you know what I'm saying, as a father and an MC, to be able to rap over my son, some shit my son did.
Right.
Like,
dope.
I didn't even know he was doing beats.
That's
Because, you
great.
know, I got a studio.
How did he bring it to you?
I did. He just said, hey, Pops, listen to this. And I'm listening, and I'm like,
Did he tell you he did it first?
Not at first. You know what I'm saying?
Learn from you. He learned from you,
He
right?
asked me to listen, and I was like, man, yeah, this pretty dope.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, I did it. I said, you did? What do you mean? And so he started just playing other shit that he had, and the shit's dope.
Imagine one
Like-
day he gave you a beat to rap over and he wasn't impressed by your verses or something. Dad,
But you
do
know
better.
what? The thing is, though, right? Like some beats, he don't even want nobody to rap on. Like he won't sell his beats. Like he's like, I don't know.
They're just precious to
Yeah,
him.
Yo,
it's like, I don't
producers-
even- I'm not trying to ruin it with work. You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
Like, what do you mean, bro?
That's crazy. Producers are like, we all know producers are like kind of out of their mind a little
Yeah, a
bit,
little
you know,
bit.
because they're really protective over their sound.
Right. And the Amazing Mr. Fuck Up, that record, that was actually a record that my other son, who actually raps, Damani,
Yeah.
he had it on a beat CD that he'd gotten from Eric and Knife Wonder. And I've been listening to him play the beat CD, going through the beats, and I keep like, so I just like, yo, what you gonna do with that one? And he was like, I don't know. He kept going to another one. So finally, about a week later, I said, man, give me that beat CD.
Yeah.
Take this. I'm taking this record. So finally, I just took it and knocked the record out right quick.
Wow.
That's lit. You got A&Rs in your
That
crib.
gotta be a great experience when you
Yeah.
can have that type of bond with your sons. and
Yeah, I
shit.
mean,
Yeah.
it was really dope. I got an 11-year-old son, and like we do a lot of talking about like hip hop and shit. And one of the like newer artists that I manage, I actually found through him. And I
Okay.
always say like, you know, if I ran the cleaners, he'd be working in the cleaners. But it's good that music is our family business.
Sure.
You know, so it's kind of ill to see how you doing that within your family.
I mean, man, shit, man, they they pick up so much. You know what I'm saying? Just like, you know, down to how their problem solving skills, and you know what I'm saying, how they gauge success. You know, it's just so much that I didn't teach them like firsthand, but they just from observation and kind of just soaking it up like a sponge. They've gotten so much insight
Do they all speak like scholars as well?
You gotta teach them
Do you
that
pick that
vocabulary.
up?
Does, right?
Some of them. Nah, man, King
He's the
hoodlum.
funniest.
He's the hoodlum of the family. You know what I'm saying? I think Major, and Messiah. Messiah he just started his first year of college in Georgia State.
Oh wow.
Oh, they're grown up.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate it.
What's your favorite album out of all the ones you dropped?
Sheesh, this one.
Other than this one. Other than this.
It's hard to say.
What's your
They all
favorite?
represent different parts of my life.
Honestly, I would say between King and Paper Trail. Paper Trail, I felt was
Yeah,
lyrically was and just
That's a real New Yorker speaking. You know what I'm saying?
He's not a New Yorker at all. No.
Hey,
I'm from
He's
Jersey,
not a
man.
New Yorker
Not this
at
guy.
all.
No, don't let that have food.
Well,
but
listen,
I feel like you were
East
going in
Coast
so
then.
crazy.
There you go.
Well,
East Coast.
My
Coast.
favorite.
You took it to another level.
My favorite album from you is King and also Urban Legend.
Well, thank you.
Urban Legend. And I always wanted to know, like, what is it? What you know about that, right?
Yeah.
Why is the clean version so much more better than the dirty version?
I don't even
Like, yo, the
know.
clean version, the ad libs on the clean version.
Oh no, we
just-
cut the ad libs up to cover up the curses.
cut the way y'all did it just made it's like when you listen
Like wherever
to
it's a blank spot for a curse word, we
Yeah.
just cut it and we put an ad there,
That's
right?
cheap.
the way I did it, it made it seem like y'all really did it that way. But when you listen to the dirty version, it's kind of awkward because you like, damn, the ad libs aren't here, so it kind of
Yeah.
throws you off within the song.
You
That's
know
the
what? I
best
never
question of
even
the day.
noticed that.
Yeah.
Yo,
That's
Tim,
good.
Last night when you was performing, after the first song you came out with Thug, I was like, oh, he got to do what you know about that. I was like, he has to do that. But you had every single ad lib on point on it.
Right on.
We need a movie, man, like ATL, man. We need
Man, it's
like,
coming. We
sequel
actually
something.
working on ATL too, man, for real. I
What
know
is
We've
it's-
been seeing
I know
these
you thinking
pictures
it's- I know it's a
everywhere,
myth.
and then
But listen,
I thought that was like the next Friday at this point. I thought you were bluffing.
I promise y'all, we definitely working on it, and everybody's like, you know, we got like, you know, phenomenal, beautiful black women in the cast.
We're gonna
And
have
they
the
got
same
to
original
get
cast,
themselves
though, right?
together. Yeah, we got the same
Okay.
original cast. We got the same director with Chris Robinson. We got a green light from Warner Brothers Pictures.
that's
We just
lit.
got to work on the script. We just got to get the script together. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to get out there and, you know, just go to a skating rink and shoot some shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We got to get the script together, and once we get the story together and it's compelling, and we feel like it is the oh shit moment that everybody's been waiting for,
Right.
then that's when we gonna
coming.
shoot it.
It's gonna be interesting because Evan Ross is like a whole grown man
Hey.
now. Like,
Evan, he's a true blue thespian.
Thespian.
He's like, yeah, to be or not to be. That is the question.
y'all been watching his reality show.
Oh,
Like,
man.
it's-
As long as you have the
And,
soundtrack.
man,
with
Evan
it.
can sing like a motherfucker, man.
Oh, for real?
Y'all didn't know that?
His mother's Diana Ross.
Man, Evan got like songs like that sound like unreleased Michael Jackson shit.
Wow.
For real.
No Jeff, no rap cap. I'm telling you, the man got Michael Jackson shit hid.
Shit.
Lit.
All right, so ATL 2 is actually happening. We got to let Tip go in a minute. They're in my ear. But, yo, thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you.
Looking
man, we
forward to
can talk
Dime
about it.
Trap. Yeah,
The
can you-
Dime Trap.
You got to
Trap.
come back next time and do like a full hour with us.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
You guys got to come to the trap music museum.
Of course.
We're there.
I will
Of
pay
course.
for y'all flights if y'all can.
I'm
y'all
gonna
can
go.
Let's go.
Hey, let's
Let's
see
go
if
to
they
the trap.
pull up.
I'll pull up.
I'll go to Atlanta.
I'll
Hey,
pull
let's
up.
see if they pull up.
Cool.
I'll pull up,
man.
man.
And I want y'all to listen to the Dime Trap, and I want you to tell everybody exactly how you feel and what you think about it. You know
Oh,
what I'm
Okay.
saying?
trust me.
That
I will.
always happens here.
I know
It's
I
one
gotta
thing you
do-
can
you
count
gonna-
on, yeah.
Looking Back is my favorite record off the Dime Trap.
Word.
Looking
Produced
back.
by David Banner.
Oh, Bandit did that?
Yeah.
See, you know what I mean, and even when you get on Apple Music and none of that, you can't see the credits no more. I can't rip over a
Right.
packaging and go over shit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
go
Looking
to
Back is my
info, bro.
favorite drink.
But physical, we got physical copies as well. So
Okay.
you know what I'm saying. If you guys into the old school,
vinyls, the vinyls.
You got
I
vinyls.
cop
You got
those.
CDs.
I like to
you know what
read.
mean?
I like to read all the
Yeah.
credits and all of that.
Yeah, go fuck with it. And the artwork, man. We got fold out of the artwork. You can frame it. This shit is pretty fly.
What? Or you thought of
yeah.
everything.
Chris
Okay.
Kutsky.
Cause
Hey, Dime Trap. Go cop that. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Everyday Struggle.